So as the 40k community descends into warring tribes of people complaining about Drukhari and people complaining about the people complaining about Drukhari, the Dallas Open GT just went down this weekend and was absolutely swept by Drukhari, with the top 5 places all being mostly Drukhari lists. Sean Naden playing an Eldari Soup, focusing primarily on Drukhari. For those who don't know, the Dallas Open GT is one of the largest events in real-life 40k to be held since lockdown has begun to lift. This event sported 172 players and one of the greatest concentrations of skill in the North American circuit so far, with a lot of big names and very recognizable players taking the top spots. Now, one thing that we should note about this event is that the metagame was relatively non-standard. First off, there were very few Adeptus Mechanicus players, and as I keep saying in a lot of these videos, it's my opinion, and I think the stats will reflect, that Adeptus Mechanicus is the strongest faction in 40k. Not least because they have a very favorable matchup into the second strongest army in 40k, which is Drukhari. Huge congratulations to John Lennon for taking it down, going 8-0. This was a fully 8-round event to become the only undefeated player at the end of the GT. In the final game, John was even able to beat that Adeptus Mechanicus matchup, meaning that in the finals of the last 2 major-sized events, that being the Motor City Mayhem and this Dallas Open GT, Drukhari have beaten their worst matchup in the finals, proving that the faction is strong enough to even play through their bad matchups, one of the reasons that I think they're so popular. A lot of very strong players are gravitating towards Drukhari right now, I think because their playstyles tends to be relatively dynamic, and they tend to be kind of flashy. You can score a lot of points because of Drukhari's aggressive playstyle, which means that they typically get high placings in large events, and being able to showcase your skills as a melee player, rather than sitting on the side of the table and shooting your opponent with endless expanses of heavy stubbers, means that on a large stage, Drukhari tends to make you look like a better player. Now, the question is still outstanding whether or not these results are a result of Drukhari's raw power or just a combination of their early Codex grace period before the meta's really adjusted, in addition to a little bit of a lack of their worst matchup, that being Adeptus Mechanicus, seen in the tournament. For the top 4 Drukhari players who did not go undefeated in the event, all of them had one loss to Mark Hurdle's Adeptus Mechanicus, who only ended up losing to John Lennon in the finals, proving that Adeptus Mechanicus definitely has what it takes to compete with Drukhari. That said, the fact that we've seen Drukhari beat that bad matchup in the finals of both Motor City Mayhem last weekend and the Dallas Open GT does indicate that Drukhari is strong enough to be able to push through what would otherwise be their absolute nightmare. It'll be interesting to revisit the metagame in a couple of weeks after Drukhari has had a little bit of a chance to mature and see if they can continue to put up these results. I definitely think that their win percentage is going to drop overall, given that more players are going to pick up the faction that may be less enfranchised and may contribute some wins to their overall scores. But the real question persists whether or not they're going to be able to put out these outstanding top 8 results like they have been. Whether we also see some hard counters like Adeptus Mechanicus come into the metagame is another question as well. I do think that they are one of the easiest solutions to Drukhari, and if you're really worried about fighting them, that might be one direction to go. We're also still waiting on a Warzone Sheridan errata document to see if some of the synergies brought up in that book are going to be addressed. I don't think that that contributes enormously to Drukhari's win percentage, just gives them another tool in their toolbox. Interactions like the Razorflail Succubus just give them another tool in their toolbox, but I don't believe that they're a big part of the strength of the faction. Anyway, that's all I have to say for this one today. Bit of a short video. Another huge congratulations to John Lennon for taking down the Dallas Open GT with his Drukhari, and I'm excited to see where the faction goes in the future. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. Big thanks to my patrons over at patreon.com/tacticaltortoise. Also, YouTube channel members, Twitch subscribers. All those people are great. And remember to keep it classy, folks, and have happy wargaming. Also, hope you enjoyed this gameplay footage of me playing Tyranids, which is the faction I play most often.